energized. Just can't keep that right hand up.
He's beginning to keep him away with the jab. And another left hand, and down goes the second knockdown of the fight.
Foreman almost staggered himself, and Tommy comes back with it.
In boxing, there's a dangerous pattern that even legends fall into, and it has nothing to do with skill, experience, or even power. It's what happens when a veteran looks across the ring, sees a younger fighter, and immediately assumes he's not on their level. In the early 1990s, that mistake became very common whenever fighters faced Tommy "the Duke" Morrison.
This knockout artist has a professional record of 36 victories with 32 KOs against only one defeat. He comes here tonight from Kansas City. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing the number 2 ranked heavyweight in the world, Tommy "the Duke" Morrison.
Because at first glance, Morrison didn't look like the kind of man who could destroy elite heavyweights. He was young, marketable, and had Hollywood fame after Rocky V, which made many fighters believe he was more hype than substance. But what they failed to understand was that behind that image was one of the most violent left hooks of the era. A punch that didn't just knock people down, but completely changed the trajectory of fights in seconds. And when seasoned veterans, former champions, and proven legends began to dismiss him, question him, or openly belittle him, they weren't just making a mistake. They were setting themselves up for punishment, because Tommy Morrison wasn't the type of fighter who needed to talk back. He responded in the only way that mattered, with sudden, explosive, fight-ending violence. Tonight, we're looking at 3 respected names in boxing history. Men with championship pedigree, elite-level experience, and reputations built over years of war inside the ring, who all made the same fatal error. They underestimated Tommy Morrison. And within a few brutal rounds, they all realized the exact same thing, that Morrison wasn't just a contender. He was a problem you couldn't solve once he started landing clean. February 1991. And Tommy Morrison was still climbing the ranks, building his record and trying to prove that he belonged among real contenders. Standing across from him was Pinklon Thomas, a former WBC heavyweight champion who had already faced elite names like Mike Tyson and Tim Witherspoon. Thomas wasn't just experienced, he was respected, and more importantly, he had already seen what true heavyweight power looked like. So when he looked at Morrison, he didn't see danger. He saw a young fighter with a famous face and an inflated reputation. In the lead up to the fight, Thomas made it very clear that he didn't take Morrison seriously, referring to him more as a Hollywood attraction than a legitimate threat. And in his mind, this was supposed to be a routine night against an overhyped opponent. But what Thomas didn't account for was just how fast Morrison could turn a fight into a disaster. From the opening bell, Morrison didn't fight like someone trying to prove a point slowly. He came forward with intent, closing distance aggressively and throwing with bad intentions from the very first exchange. Thomas tried to stay composed, using his jab and experience to control the pace. But Morrison wasn't there to box cautiously. He was there to end it. And within the first round, the entire dynamic of the fight changed in an instant. Morrison landed a brutal combination that immediately shook Thomas, and once he had him hurt, he didn't hesitate or reset. He pressed forward relentlessly, unleashing power shots that forced Thomas into survival mode almost immediately. A deep cut opened up, blood began to flow, and the former champion who had gone rounds with Mike Tyson suddenly looked overwhelmed. The bell may have ended the round, but it didn't save the fight. Because when Thomas returned to his corner, the damage was already too severe. His team made the decision for him. They stopped the fight. Just one round was enough. The man who dismissed Morrison as a movie star had just been dismantled so violently that he couldn't continue. And afterward, Thomas admitted something that carried serious weight, that Morrison's power felt even more shocking than what he experienced against Tyson. That wasn't hype. That was firsthand reality.
In Rocky V, now back live in the corner. Morrison receiving the hugs all around. And Pinklon Thomas, who drops to 36-1.
Well, we thought it may end in the first round, but I wrote right here, Al, what I thought would happen.
By 1993, Tommy Morrison had already proven he could knock people out, but critics still questioned whether he could handle elite-level experience. That question brought him face-to-face with Carl "The Truth" Williams, a fighter who had shared the ring with legends like Larry Holmes and Mike Tyson. Williams believed that his experience at the highest level would be the difference, and going into the fight, he made it clear that Morrison hadn't faced anyone of his caliber.
That again. And there's the left hook, and down goes Carl Williams.
As advertised. Just can't keep that right hand up.
To him, Morrison was still untested, still incomplete. And this fight would expose him. Early on, it actually looked like Williams might be right. Williams used his jab effectively, controlled distance, and forced Morrison into uncomfortable positions. For several rounds, he dictated the pace, landing clean shots and building a lead on the scorecards. From the outside, it looked like experience was neutralizing power, like the veteran was slowly taking control of the fight. But what wasn't obvious in the moment was that Morrison wasn't panicking. He wasn't falling apart. He was waiting for the opportunity that power fighters always look for. And when it came, everything changed instantly. A perfectly timed left hook landed clean, and Williams immediately felt the difference. The control he had built over several rounds disappeared in seconds. Morrison followed up aggressively, unleashing combinations that forced Williams into a defensive shell. The referee watched closely as the damage piled up and eventually stepped in to stop the fight. Just like that, the man who believed experience would expose Morrison had been stopped. Not outboxed, not outpointed, but broken down and finished. Because against a puncher like Morrison, one mistake is all it takes.
Got some energy from round 5. Or is Tommy Morrison already wearing down?
That was what I would call a C left hook, not his A or B even.
No, his A is a lightning bolt. The best in the division.
June 7th, 1993, and now the stakes were higher than ever. Because standing across from Tommy Morrison wasn't just a veteran, it was George Foreman, a global icon, a former undisputed heavyweight champion, and one of the most feared punchers in boxing history. Foreman wasn't just known in boxing circles. He was a household name, a legend whose power had defined an entire era. And going into this fight, most people believed that Morrison was stepping into something far beyond his level. Foreman had knocked out elite fighters, reclaimed world titles in his 40s, and built a reputation as a man who could end a fight with a single punch. And when he looked at Morrison, he didn't see a threat. He saw a young, aggressive fighter who would eventually walk into something he couldn't handle. The expectation was simple. Morrison would try to trade, and Foreman would make him pay. But what happened next shocked everyone. Instead of rushing in recklessly, Morrison fought with discipline. He used his jab, controlled distance, and refused to stand in front of Foreman for extended exchanges. Round after round, he boxed intelligently, frustrating the older champion and preventing him from landing the kind of shots he was known for. This wasn't the fight Foreman expected. And slowly, it became clear that Morrison wasn't there to play into his strengths. He was there to win. As the fight went on, Morrison's strategy became even more effective. He continued to outbox Foreman, staying disciplined and avoiding unnecessary risks. Foreman had moments, as all great fighters do, but he was never able to impose his power consistently. By the final rounds, the outcome was clear. Morrison had done the unthinkable. He had controlled a legend, outboxed him over 12 rounds, and taken a unanimous decision victory. The young fighter who many believed would be overwhelmed had just defeated one of the most iconic heavyweights in history. Not by knockout, but by proving he was more than just power. He was smart, composed, and capable of beating legends at their own game.
Angelo Dundee screaming at Mills Lane, saying, "You're not a good referee."
3 fights, 3 respected names, and 3 very different outcomes that all lead to the same conclusion. Pinklon Thomas underestimated Morrison and was stopped almost immediately. Carl Williams believed experience would expose him and ended up getting finished. George Foreman expected to overpower him and instead got outboxed over 12 rounds. This is what made Tommy Morrison dangerous. Not just his power, but the fact that he could adapt. He could knock you out early, break you down late, or outthink you over the distance. And when fighters dismissed him, underestimated him, or failed to take him seriously, they didn't just lose, they paid for it. Because in the heavyweight division, one mistake can cost you everything. And against Tommy Morrison, that mistake usually came with consequences. So the next time you look at a fighter and think you've figured them out before the bell even rings, remember this: even legends got it wrong. And Tommy Morrison made sure they never forgot it.